Lance by Chance. The untold story of him wrestling as of on Earth. LanceByChance.com.
Oh, righty. AJ's right here, too. So we got the 531. It's the Working Fans Podcast. And today we're talking about one of the all-time greats. He's simply ravishing. And I'm talking, that's not you, AJ. I'm talking about Rick Rude, baby. Rick Rude matches. AJ, now I know for a fact you're not really a big Rick Rude fan, and you kind of tried to boycott this list. But that being said, what are your thoughts? Are you excited to talk about Rick Rude?
This was a hard one for me. I mean, he's only one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So
who you got for a list, too?
I'm actually very excited, but we'll start off.
I'm pushing you. I'm sorry. Take your time. I'm sorry.
No, please, by all means, rush me. So my first list that I got here is I have Zach's list.
Yeah.
Zach St. John, one of our listeners of the show, one of the Brothers of Destruction, and he's bringing us Rude versus Sting from the Clash of Champions when Rude won the U.S. title.
Oh, yeah.
He's got Rude versus Steamboat at Super Brawl. I think some of these matches are going to show up on multiple lists due to the fact that how good they are. You've got Rude versus Sting at the King of Cable. Now, I don't know if people actually remember when they did that little tournament, but that was actually a fun little King of Cable tournament.
Yeah.
Rude versus Flair at the Fall Brawl 93.
Yep.
And then Rude versus Shinya Hashimoto from the G192.
Deep cut.
Well, that's really the beginning of the G1s.
I don't know, but that is, yeah.
I know they've been doing them for around 30 years, so it's got to be pretty early in the G1 Climax series. So that's kind of a cool thing to have him versus Hashimoto.
Now, I got a little mini list, and then I'm going to give you a real list, because I was talking to Jake, and he forgot to give me his list. But he was telling me Sting, Steamboat, and Christ, he even made the Warrior look good. He never got around to getting me the matches, but I think we understand where he's coming from. I want to say this, too, before I even read my first list. Just a little your opinion on something. I think in that era, Rude is one of the first guys who left WWE, where he was great at, by the way, but actually kind of hit his prime in WCW during that U.S. title run.
I think we could definitely agree on that because, I think he hit his stride. The fact of the matter is when he got to the WWE, he had only been wrestling since around 1983.
Right.
So you're talking about him getting to the, I believe in 87 was his first year, late 87.
I think late, because he wasn't at WrestleMania 3, so it was a little after.
Yeah, late 87, and then he has the Warrior stuff in early 88. And so you're talking about him only having been wrestling for 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
At the time that he's starting off in the WWE.
Already had tag belts in the Crockett's, too.
Most professional wrestlers that you talk to, though, will consider people green for pretty much the first decade of wrestling.
Back then, especially. Yeah.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
Rude definitely hit his stride in WCW. And unfortunately, then he had the horrific injury to his back, which cost us probably what would have been the best years of his career.
Agreed. Now I'm going to start off with Mikey and Fred. This was actually his idea. He's got Hogan versus Rude, 88 Boston Garden. I believe it might be the only Hogan Rude match, too. Steamboat versus Rude, WCW 93. Sting versus Rude, WCW Worldwide 94. There's an interesting one. Iceman Parsons at Reunion Arena, November 28th, 1985. And Rude versus Bruiser Brody, 1986.
I believe the Iceman match was the one where Rude actually took the title off Iceman.
Okay.
I believe that's the one where he actually took the title off Iceman and he started his reign.
The world class
Exactly, with the
Yeah.
world-class heavyweight championship.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm trying to remember now if Rude started in '88 with WWE, but basically he had really a limited run at Bill Watts's UWF Mid-South.
Yeah.
And then he was in World Class and NWA Crockett's for a while, where he was the World Class Heavyweight Champion, and he had the tag belts with the Crockett's with Manny Fernandez.
Yeah, because he was one of those Minnesota boys who all started around that same time period.
Yeah.
Childhood friends with Kurt Hennig. Ended up bouncing at, what was it, Mama Bees or whatever the name of that bar
Grandma
was.
Bees. Just
Grandma Bees or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he was a little different build than the other guys. The other guys who came out of there were more of the power lifter build, whereas he was more of the bodybuilder, where he was just cut down and lean. And he was always muscular, but he kept himself, what was he, about 6'3", 6'4", and kept himself at about 220 pounds. So he was just chiseled.
Yeah.
That's but I've got another list for you here. I've got Scott from Voluntown, a good friend of the show. We've got Rude versus Masamahiro Chono from the New Japan G1 Climax from 1994. We've got Steamboat Sting, Dustin Nikita, and Barry versus the Dangerous Alliance from Wrestle War 1992.
Those are the War Games.
Absolutely. And then we've got Pillman, Dustin, and Sting versus Orndorff, Rude, and Austin. And
Thunder Cage.
In the Thunder Cage, yes.
Yes. I'm such a fan of these two matches, so that's all right. Yeah.
I'm actually a fan of them. It's just a lot of the words that they're using are very similar, so my mouth's like blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But,
Plus, I mean, you're not a big multi-man match guy anyway, too.
I'm not. The ones that are making this list, and I love the War Games match, I do.
Yeah.
But the ones that are making Scott's list aren't necessarily going to make my list because I'm just not a big multi. I like to see two wrestlers focus, and even in a tag match, I do enjoy tag matches when done correctly.
Yeah, those are some of the better ones in history, though, I really think. But go ahead.
Well, he does have one that will be on my list. He's got Rude versus Steamboat from the Iron Man match from Beach Blast.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about Iron Man matches because we talk about, Brett versus Shawn and stuff of that nature. But to me, this match between Steamboat and Rick Rude from 1992 showed how great a match could be. And you talk about two guys that are just in the physically peak condition. As much as I like Shawn and I like Brett, neither one of them look like these two guys.
Absolutely not.
And then you got Rude versus Sting from Clash of Champions 1991. Which I believe once again is the one where he won the U.S. title. That's the one where Luger clips out the knee before the match.
Now, Medusa was involved in that with a distraction too. Now, I would say you brought an interesting point too. Like, I don't think anybody in the history of the business ever had a body like Rude.
No, I don't think anybody. I'm trying to think even
that
now.
Lean and muscular at the same time.
Because he's a big guy.
So lean, yeah.
Yeah, you have people who got lean like that. Like Petey Williams got lean like that. But Petey Williams is about 5'7".
Yeah.
You're talking about a guy here who's 6'3", 6'4", and just was cut.
Yeah.
And so
I wonder sometimes too if that hurt him in WWF.
Well, I think it hurt him against Hogan. I don't think Hogan wanted to work with him because they were trying to tell us Hogan's like 6'7".
Right.
We know Hogan's not like 6'7". Hogan's closer to 6'5", 6'4".
Hogan's gotten shorter over the years too.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm even talking about it in his prime.
Yeah, I know.
But calling him 6'7" made Andre look even bigger because it's easier to believe Andre's 7'4" if Hulk Hogan's 6'7". But Rude would stand eye to eye with him. And you've got Hogan, who is the blown up and big muscle, the freaking swollen look compared to Rick Rude. The closest thing I can think of to Rick Rude would probably be Paul Orndorff before the atrophy to the arm, obviously.
Right. Now, see, I got distracted there. I got a text coming. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, also maybe Rocky Johnson also.
Yes. Yeah. Now, just for that, I think though too. But like Rude was, he had that one match with Hogan. To me, it's really amazing that like they didn't want to work with him because Hogan, like Rude, could bump his ass off too. That's the crazy part. Like nobody could sell like Rude.
But I just don't think Hogan wanted to work with somebody because Hogan was selling the body image where he was what the ultimate say your prayers, eat your vitamins, look like Hulk Hogan. So I don't think he liked working with somebody who made his body didn't look as good.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I got Randy Osgood here. He's got Rick Rude versus Ricky Steamboat, Iron Man match, Beach Blast 92. Rude versus Sting, WCW Clash of Champions. We got Sting Clash of Champions over our 8th 1992 semifinals of the King of the Cable tournament. Okay, so that King of the Cable tournament semifinals was at the Clash too. So that's something I didn't realize that. So Rude versus Warrior, WWE Championship, SummerSlam 90. That was also a cage match. Rude versus Flair, WCW Fall Brawl 93, WCW title. And Rick Rude and Steve Austin versus Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham, Great American Bash, July 12th, 1992. Wow. Hell of a list there. He's got a lot of tag matches and everything.
Well, we all know Randy Osgood's a genius when it comes to his taste. So,
now you got another list.
I do. Whoever sent me this note sent me that it's Jesse from New Hemisphere.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure he's from New Hampshire.
Look out for those New Hampshires.
Yeah. Versus Jake Roberts on Saturday Night's Main Event from 1988. That was over Cheryl Roberts, of course, fighting over Jake the Snake Roberts' ex-wife. Versus Ricky Steamboat in the Iron Man match. He's got versus Flair at Fall Brawl 93. Sting Squadron versus the Dangerous Alliance 92, which is showing up a lot. And then versus Sting at the Clash of Champions, I believe that is 17, which doesn't make sense to me, but sure.
He's got, I can see it right here too. Sting. The numerical numbers.
Yeah, sure.
Numerical.
I don't speak those Italian numbers.
Now, I believe that's your last list other than ours?
Yes.
So it might be time to tag out to our partner who's a little under the weather today. Bam!
Wait a minute. Hold on. Cut the music.
Providence
I want to talk
Pissants.
to all those fat, out-of-shape podcasts and let them know what a real podcast looks like.
Close your eyes, baby. Close your eyes.
Is that a Red Sox t-shirt on a wrestling show?
No, that's a rap t-shirt, baby. That's Enemy.
Yeah, that's a rap t-shirt. That's Enemy. Remember, he was on for Hip Hop for the Homeless. It is Red Sox themed.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
the Enemy, the illest. He makes some of the coolest shirts. He's got like a Stormtrooper shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a shirt that's got our hometown library in it.
Ooh.
If you're not from Jewett City, like you probably wouldn't pop for it.
The Slater Library?
Slater Library, you remember.
Boom.
Oh, shit. AC Slater Library. I love it.
Yes. Although they're going to switch it over to Screech now that he's passed away.
Hey, Jay, keep the noise down because my man's about to give his list here.
All right, my first list is from Mike Flynn. He's got Rude versus Warrior SummerSlam, Rude versus Sting Clash, Rude versus Flair Fall Brawl, Rude versus Steamboat Super Brawl, and Rude versus Warrior WrestleMania 5. I did rewatch that Mania 5 match, and I do got to agree with Jake, whose new book, Night Full of Stars, is out now on Amazon. You can get it. Just go to Amazon.com. Jake St. John, Night Full of Stars.
That's why you're the best in the business, bro. I love the plugs. You do agree? Yeah, he does make Warrior look good. He's one of the
he does.
That's not a bad plug, but I'm going to order it right now.
I didn't add it to my list because when I was going through matches, I felt like every Rude match that I was watching, I'm like, I like that one.
Yeah.
And then I started getting discriminatory. Like, there was a Rude versus Jake WrestleMania 4.
Yeah.
The first round of that tournament, which was way before the actual feud that they had. And it was a good match, but it didn't live up to the other ones. Now, I'll give you my list to kind of show you the matches I kept versus what I got rid of, because I had Rude versus Steamboat, the Iron Man match, Beach Blast 92. I had Rude versus Steamboat also from Rumble 88, Rude versus Sting, Spring Stampede 94, I had Rude and Orndorff versus Rhodes and Sasaki, Slamboree 93. There was another Rude Dustin Rhodes match that I liked because I was a big The Natural fan of when Dustin was younger. But like the Jake Roberts WrestleMania 4 match, I didn't think it lived up to one of Rude's better matches. And as an honorable mention, because if we're going to be talking Jake St. John night full of stars, you got to have the Jake rule. And I had Rude versus Flair, Havoc 93.
Hey,
Rick Rude did a tremendous amount for Dustin Rhodes early in his career. He was
though. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I got something I want to say. I'm excited. Go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that Rick Rude was one of the people that Dustin really worked with a lot when he first came to WCW after that little stint in the WWE. And Rick Rude did a tremendous amount to actually put him over.
Yeah, you could see how green Dustin looked in the ring. And even though his matches were getting there, he wasn't quite the legend he'd become. Rick Rude did a lot to make him look real good in those matches.
Yeah, a sidebar about Dustin. He had he hit WCW in that time period after working in WWE for maybe a couple months at that time with his father. He went over to WCW. He was working with guys like Iron Anderson, Larry Zbyszko, Rick Rude. He was teaming up with Ricky Steamboat, Barry Windham. They're having matches with Terry Gordy, Steve Blade. Like, he had a great time to really learn. And that's before, obviously he hit his stride. And AJ's favorite Dustin Rhodes incarnation. Go.
Oh West. Yeah. No, I'm a Natural fan, but I want to give credit to Dustin in that time period too, because another wrestling booker's son was in at the same time period. Eric Watts,
one of the all-time greats.
Eric Watts had those same people to work with, and I don't think he developed quite as well.
Well, here's the thing about that too, though. I will be fair to Eric though, because it's easy to shit on Eric, but Eric's dad, a lot of those guys weren't willing to work with Eric as well. And also, Eric was at a much different point in his career at that point, and I don't think had the experience that Dustin had. Like, Eric had more of a college football career too.
Absolutely, he was a quarterback for Louisville.
Yep, absolutely. Now, that being said, not Dustin's the man, but we're talking about Rude. And it's funny you say that. I'll go with my list. I'll give you the main event spot, AJ. But actually, I added Rude versus Dustin Rhodes for the vacant U.S. title. It actually ended in a draw. I think it was Beach Blast 93. And I thought they tore it up. So that made my list as well. I had the Dangerous Alliance War Games matchup. That's one of my favorite ones. The Steamboat Iron Man match, too. I got the Sting Clash where he took the U.S. title from Sting. It was more an angle, but I just loved it. I love Sting trying to battle back that whole time in that match. And I also have Warrior SummerSlam World Title match in the cage because, again, I think those are Warrior's best matches other than maybe Randy Savage. Rude just brought out him. And one other thing I want to add about Rude, although he doesn't wrestle the same way, and they damn sure don't look the same way, I was making this comment a few weeks ago about Walter. And what I love about Walter is able to get people over, but still be this dominant badass where he looks like he's just this unstoppable force. Similar, I feel like Rude. Rude isn't necessarily, but Rude comes in there. He looks like a star. He stays looking like a star, but he also knows how to get his opponents over still. AJ.
So I got a fun one for you. We were talking about naturals, and I'm gonna bring up someone who is extremely natural. One of my favorite matches, and I think you guys will find this entertaining, is Rick Rude from 1986 in World Class Wrestling versus the Dingo Warrior. They had 3 matches there. Any one of them aren't bad, but 2 of them were televised. One was a house show. So the one that was televised ended in a double disqualification. The two managers at ringside for Dingo Warrior versus Rick Rude were Gary Hart was actually the Dingo Warriors manager, and Percy Pringle, or later on as Paul Bearer, was actually the manager for Rick Rude. So you had legitimately 4 Hall of Famers all at ringside or all involved in the match doing what they do. And it ended up going to a double DQ and you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on a lot of places. It's just a hell of a match. So Dingo Warrior versus Rick Rude.
No kidding. Wow, the Dingo Warrior makes the list.
So I got Sting versus Rick Rude from November 19th of 1991. The Clash of Champions match. Once again, I agree with you. It just told a hell of a story.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think the match is underrated. In order to work a match like that, selling an injury beforehand and really working it and making people believe, everybody in that arena believed Sting's knee was just hanging on a string. And there were times in that match where everybody thought Sting had the match.
The drama of trying to make it to the venue at the time, too, from the ambulance, where they told that story that he was going to forfeit the title because of a clause in the contract and nobody knew about it. It was so good.
Absolutely. I am also going to go with Rude Steamboat Iron Man match. I think it was ahead of its time. I think that they really killed it. I don't even want to say it's ahead of a time because what it legitimately was the old-fashioned Broadway that you saw a lot in the late 70s, early 80s. You saw it a lot from Flair and Steamboat, stuff of that nature. But basically, Steamboat did it with Rick Rude, and the two of them tore the house down.
Yeah. Only a half hour, though.
When I was going through, I was surprised to see how many Iron Man matches it seemed Rude was in.
Yeah.
And he really definitely kept the pace of it up where it didn't get boring when I was watching them either.
Rude Steamboat, too, master sellers.
Well, that's just it. Both of them were tremendous sellers. One, obviously, the babyface style, and one, the heel style. I would have liked to have seen Rude get his chance to turn heel. That was the talk when he got injured, was that he was about not turn heel, turn face. The talk was that he was going to turn face and face Vader. I would have loved to have seen how he would have sold as a face. Rick Rude versus Sting, King of Cable, is one of my other matches. I'm a big fan of that. And then I have to throw the Ric Flair and Rick Rude from what was it? Brawl, Super Brawl 1993. I got to throw that in there also.
I think it's Fall Brawl.
Was it Fall Brawl? Oh, my bad. Fall Brawl. My bad. Yeah. You're right. Sorry. WCW had too many brawls.
Isn't it wild how Rick Rude is getting different matches or getting different matches with similar opponents? Like, I've got a Rude Flair match that you guys don't have. There's a couple different Rude Steamboat matches. It shows the assortment of good matches he had with several
This is what
guys.
we ran into with Flair Steamboat. You would just see these different variety of matches on there.
Well, it was also very interesting with Flair and the Rude match because it's one of Rude's last great matches because he gets injured shortly after in early 1994, and Flair was the
she did kill that mouse too.
Flair was the baby face, and he was the baby face with Fifi in his corner, and obviously there was a lot of turmoil with Rick Rude and Fifi.
Yeah. So to me, the matches I think we heard here most.
She did kill it. I found the body in the clothes.
I'm gonna say Rude versus Steamboat. Don't worry about this. This is all gonna make great video. The body in the clothes, folks.
Oh shit! You guys could hear that.
Yeah, we hear everything.
My cat killed a mouse.
Yeah. We heard you go shoot on somebody over there. Cat's
no, I'm off. I'm off tonight.
We got Rude versus Steamboat, though. I'm gonna say the Iron Man match that has to make this list.
Speaking of killing the territory,
I don't know. What do you think else made this list enough times? I thought Rude Warrior SummerSlam Steel Cage match a few times.
The War Games made it.
Are you muted?
I mean, I had that on twice. Yeah.
I'll text you when I get off.
You know what? Let's do actually that Rude Sting match for the Clash of Champions with the U.S. title.
Oh, I didn't know.
We'll do that one with the Steamboat one.
Did you get him?
No, you know we still hear everything, right?
Of course I got him.
I don't know if he knows we can still hear everything. It's all a shoot, brother.
Yeah, no, I know. Audio-wise, this will all edit out. Obviously, it'll be a video.
It's all a shoot, brother.
Text me if you want something. Okay.
I'm gonna go with
tuna fish grinder, no tomatoes.
Where's he going? Because I didn't even hear.
That's actually his favorite grinder. He's just telling it. I remember hearing that shit all the time when we were young.
Oh, is he honest? All right.
Yeah.
No, sorry about that, guys. My brother came over and I guess his dog was half out the window when he came here. So
It happens.
So what do you got?
thank God this isn't the live show.
Yeah, right.
I think it's got to be down to. I like the Iron Man match for the final.
Yeah.
I like the War Games match.
Let's do that.
And
Let's do that Sting from Clash of Champions when they won the U.S. title.
I
I just
think
think it's a hell of a story.
I think it's a hell of a story, and I think it made multi lists.
Yeah, I think that's a hell of a match and a hell of a
Now,
story.
was that the King of Cables that we thought?
That was a good one too, but I'm
Cable is
going with
good,
US.
but Clash of Champions is the one where Luger injured the knee first.
Yeah,
Medusa
okay.
comes
he
out,
has to
Luger
run
injures
in
the knee from
from
behind.
the hospital and everything too. I also do want to shout out because I remember the match, but the one Mikey and Fred on his Facebook page, he was the only one who had it on his list. But Hogan versus Rude is just a classic. It's the
It
one
actually
time
is a
they
good
met.
match.
It's a really good match,
Yeah.
and it makes you ashamed that they never wrestled and had a feud. Like Rude would have been such a perfect opponent for Hogan.
Well, the funny thing is when Hogan first came to WCW, Rude, there's all kinds of stories about heat between the two of them because Rude wanted to wrestle Hogan again, and
Yeah.
Hogan was like, no way, brother.
All right, so what are we looking at for top three now? Did we get it narrowed down?
We did. We had the Rude Steamboat Iron Man match, Rude versus Sting, the U.S. title, and then
Yeah.
I don't know what we wanted.
War
to do for that
Games was the
third.
last
We'll
one,
do War
right?
Games. That's fine. Yeah, I'll do War Games for the third because that's one of the best War Games of all time.
Absolutely.
All right, now what gets bounced first out of all these?
I bounce War Games.
I don't have a problem with that. War Games makes my list on so many things. So, and that's my favorite War Games of all time.
Nothing against the War Games. It's just the War Games doesn't focus on Rick Rude. So if you're picking a Rick Rude match, to me, it doesn't really focus on what makes Rick Rude great. Whereas the Iron Man match where Rick Steamboat and the two of them bumping their asses off, and then Sting and Rick Rude telling that story at Clash of Champions, those both are quintessential when it comes to Rick Rude.
If you look at the Rude Steamboat Iron Man match, it's the classic. It ends with Paul Heyman, which no one talked about, being a ninja and a phone, and he hits Ricky Steamboat on top of the head with a phone. But, I mean, other than that, it's like the classic match. But I'm going to break tradition a little bit here. I like the Angle Slash match. I really do. It's something that always sticks with me as a kid. I love that Rude Sting storyline. It ignited the feud between the two of them. Even though Sting was going to go on to win the title from Luger a few minutes later after he drops that belt, it's where Sting beats Luger. Luger leaves the company. They're having like a press conference or after party. Rude shows up in the Dangerous Alliance, throws a drink in Sting's face, and they start brawling, and the feud's on. And it's just such good shit. So, and it all starts off in that clash. So to me, that's my vote for the finals. Sting, Rude, U.S. title, boom.
The smartest thing I've ever heard Dave say.
What? Who knew?
See, if I was going to pick one, I would have to go Rude Steamboat, because going into today, I wouldn't say I was particularly big on Rick Rude, but watching all these matches to find his best ones, I'm like, God damn, this guy was a treasure. And I think that Rude Steamboat match, that was just another level for me. That was what I like about wrestling. It brought me back to a time that I was sitting in front of that TV on a lot of Saturday nights, just into that WCW product.
If you're looking for pure wrestling out of the two of them, then you go with Steamboat and Rude. If you're looking for the story and what would drive the future between two great athletes, then you got to go with Rude and Steamboat. Not Steamboat and Sting. I think the two of them, just like Dave said, it didn't just start a program between the two of them because it was new to the program between the two of them, but it actually made a rivalry that lasted right up until Rude's injury.
Yeah. Now, I just want to say, too, before we get out of here, like Joe, Rude was a bad guy I did not like as a kid, but he was somebody I started to appreciate more.
Oh, I thought you were saying like me. Rude is a bad guy, and I don't like.
No. But as I got older, like I appreciated him so much, and then as time goes on, and I look back at his stuff. Wow, so ahead of his time, one of the all-time greats. But guys, I think he
was the innovator of those airbrush tights.
Well, I would like to say that unlike Joe or Dave, I cheered for Rick Rude the whole time, and I've been a fan of Rick Rude ever since the first time I saw him with Manny Fernandez. So,
Raging Bull, baby. All right, I think
well,
that's
guys,
enough.
you know what the music means. I think we came to a conclusion on the 5-3-1, and we will see you again next week.